Hi friends, this is Mark from playABLE Games. I'm here doing a walkthrough and accessibility review for Biomutant by THQ Nordic and Experiment 101. Now, I started playing this game yesterday, and I went through all the different settings, and I saw that there were a lot of great accessibility settings and different options that I thought could benefit a lot of people. And so I decided to do kind of this tutorial / review of the game so that we can so I could show these things off and do a quick little accessibility review for it and as well. So I'm excited because I hadn't planned on doing this as an accessibility review, but you get to enjoy the benefits of it, and I gotta highlight some things about this game. So I'll show it and do it and determine if it is playable for those that have visual, auditory, cognitive, or physical impairments. The general visual, it's kind of a little bit dark right now due to it being nighttime in the game. Here is an example of daytime just for comparison. So let's do some of the visual things just for you guys to kind of see. So within the visual settings, we have a few things that we can kind of really look at. Brightness, so we're going to bump all this all the way up, and we'll show the difference in the nighttime. Things are definitely easier to see. The colors are kind of blown out a little bit, and by a little bit I mean a lot, but for some who are visually impaired, this could actually be a benefit. So let me do it here, and we'll show you the comparison of both. Okay, so back once again, you can change the resolution. You can change whether it's full screen or windowed, which is pretty normal for any PC game. The brightness, I'd say, is the biggest thing here. I did not see within here any setting for color blindness or anything like that. So the biggest change visually is going to be the changing in brightness. One of the big things that you can do is that you could change the field of view. So let me bump it all the way up here. And you could see that really it's opened things up, and you can see a lot around the character. And yeah, so let's turn this, set this back to normal. You can see definitely more compact in. You cannot see as many elements. So not only does this game have horizontal field of view, it's got vertical field of view. And that really has an interesting effect. Whoa. That really kind of makes it a fisheye, doing the vertical field of view. That's crazy. So this is bumped up all the way on the vertical field of view. This is bumped up all the way on the horizontal field of view. And this is game default. So it's up to you to decide on which view you think is more playable. You can turn on and off motion blur. I always turn it off. Like I said, the frame rate on my monitor is pretty high, so I don't like to have motion blur. And I even run my computer directly up to a TV and run it like a gaming console most of the time. And my TV can do 120 hertz, so through the HDMI. So I turned down motion blur, so it's not on there. Camera shake, you can turn off as well, which is really, really good. That way, if you have trouble differentiating things moving around or shaking around, you can turn that off. Depth of field, This is just going to change whether things are in focus or not. So you turn off the depth of field and everything will be in focus. So you won't have any blur for things being out of focus because they're in a distant, because they're off in the distance, or up close where they're trying to focus on something in the distance. Everything will be in focus. So that is a good good thing to have. I always like things in focus. I'm kind of a filmy kind of guy. I took some film classes in college and do some amateur photography. Another thing is you can turn off and on the auto adjusting of the focus to the player. Also, another thing that I didn't see for that visual impairedness is I saw and I was not given the option for menu narration. So we're going to come back through this real quick, but there is no menu narration option with even in the accessibility settings. So it is kind of lacking in that regard. Okay, friends, how visually playable is Biomutant? I'm going to give it a score of 7 out of 10. It does allow you to customize the field of view, which is awesome, as well as the brightness, but there is no color blindness setting and no menu narration. Alright, so how does this do with audio accessibility? So I always like seeing many different options for the audio settings. This will allow anybody with some sort of audio processing to kind of cut out all the extra stuff that's just distracting or their brain can't even process it. I always turn down music. It rarely has a negative for me, but it allows me to hear everything else. I like to hear the sound effects. I like to hear what people are saying. If I can't hear what people are saying because the music's overpowering it, I don't like it. So you can turn down this. Ambient noise is everything around you, so it's going to be crickets chirping and different things like that. So you can change the user interface. You can modify the speech volume. So I'll kind of get to the narrator here in just a second because that's kind of the cool thing. And the gibberish, I love the gibberish noises in this game. I think they are hilarious. Now what they did, now I'm assuming what they did, is that they had a bunch of just random gibberish noises that are made. There's this one guy who kind of has these Elvis-y noises that are hilarious. And the narrator will translate what the person is saying, what the character is saying within the game. And so you can see that this narrator, so they're only really paying the dialogue for the narrator. So it's pretty smart on their part probably to keep the cost of hiring out voice actors and doing this in a funny, creative, and I'd say artistic way. I really like how it works because, yeah, you get some funny gibberish going on. As well as being able to turn on and off subtitles, you can also turn off, during the dialogue sequences, the narrator narrating what the person is saying. Now, I think keeping it on is good if you have a disability of some kind or an impairment of some kind. That way you can have the narrator read it to you rather than having to read the subtitles for everything that everybody is saying. You can also turn off the gibberish so that only the audio of the narrator is coming through and you don't have that confusing you. Now for the sound accessibility, you can turn off on subtitles, which I have them on and I'm having up medium. I will show here just a comparison of both. And show it on all extremes. So you can see along the bottom an example of what it looks like with the subtitle background, with the subtitle background off. And with the various colors, so you can kind of gauge which one works for you. I really like that. and small compared to large. So many good options here for audio. These are all great things. Here's an example of the dialogue moments, so you get to see the subtitles, you get to hear the narrator, and all of that.
Thingamajig he's working on.
Speech by pigs.
He's happy to hear that from someone that's a part of the coming.
Button. Oh.
You should look for things that are recyclable. It shouldn't take you too long to find some.
Alright friends, so how auditorially playable is Biomutant? I'm going to give it a score of 9 out of 10. It does have many sound sliders as well as subtitle options that are very effective, but I did not see any way to change the text size of items on the HUD. So I have the adaptive controller here set up and it works great. And good news, it works great with Copilot. So if you need to use multiple inputs for your setup, you can easily control it with Copilot. So the adaptive controller works, everything works, and you can really enjoy it that way. No issues here. So the adaptive controller works perfect. Copilot works great with this game. So 0 issues there, and you can control it perfectly. One thing to note on the Copilot is make sure that you have disabled Steam input if you're running this game on Steam, because the Steam input would override what Copilot is trying to do. So make sure that you turn that off. So for our controls, it does have sprint toggle, quick menu toggle. So if you are one that can't hold open the quick menu and have to change, so I'll show you what the quick menu is. So this is the quick menu. So holding a direction on the D-pad will pull up the quick menu and show you all the things that you have available to you. If you want to just have that toggle rather than just hold, because that's hold, let go, then the toggle would keep that menu open for you. I'm always a sprint toggle kind of guy. You can change camera sensitivity, invert vertical. I don't need that on mouse, but invert vertical on a controller, always for me. And if you're using a PlayStation setup, you can always just change the way the icons are to be the DualShock icons. You can remap the controller to whatever you need. So if you need to set up things just a little bit different, easy to do. Now I'm going to show you these I really like. I always like these things. So the QuickTime events. So you can have it where it auto-completes it. So if you have a hard time hitting those buttons when you need to, you can just have this turned on and enjoy the events after you defeat a boss or what have you. Whenever they have those quick time events, you're falling off a cliff and you need to hit some buttons, you don't have to worry about that. As part of the story progression, there were a couple quick time events that I came across where it still wanted me to try, even though you're going to fail because you're supposed to fail as part of the story. So that's going to happen. Auto-advancing dialogues. So if you don't like having to click every time someone's done talking, it'll auto-advance through the dialogues. You can also, with this turned on, skip through dialogues as it's going along, which is really nice. And once again, the quick menu toggle, which is the same over here, they've just put over here in the accessibility menu as well. So you could choose to toggle it on. You can then set that within the gameplay here, so that you can just tap it and it pulls it up. Friends, I gave this a 9 out of 10 for mental and physical playability. You can use Copilot, you can use the adaptive controller, there are QuickTime settings that you can change, and there's some toggle options. And you can remap the control scheme to whatever works for you, or to whatever control scheme you like. So in the achievements, I'm looking through them, and there's a lot of completion. You gotta do a lot of different tasks multiple times. So it's gonna take a while to get these achievements, but I'm not seeing any where you have to play on a certain difficulty to get it. And there's no hidden achievements here at the bottom that are preventing you from seeing, oh yes, I need to beat it on normal to unlock this or whatever. So there's not a thing that prevents it from being too difficult. But with some of these, like capturing, I haven't had to capture yet, so those could be difficult. I don't know yet. Once I get to that point, maybe I'll have a better idea. But they look fairly achievable. So I'm going to give these achievements a score 9 out of 10. They look fairly accessible and fairly obtainable. Okay, friends, is Biomutant playable? I'm going to give it an overall score of 8 out of 5 out of 10. The audio and controller options are great, video options are lacking in some areas, and the achievements are fairly accessible. So go out, buy it, play it, enjoy it.